Hello, this is Brandon Farr, and welcome back to our conversations on entrepreneurial topics, really centered on building depth in your business. And just because it's been a while, depth is about building substance, not just accumulating wealth for the sake of building bigger piles of gold and flexing your ego in the marketplace. This is about developing something that has value to the business, that honors the business, honors the people that are in it, honors the community in which it's a part. Talk about stakeholder engagement. ESGs are trying to touch to this, but it's also being attentive to the environment and the context in which we do business, and doing something that, I had a vision early on. It's like when people go home from working with me, I want them to feel rejuvenated, not depleted. So when they go home to their families, I want them to feel like, yes, they worked hard, there was a meaningful contribution, but I want them to go home revitalized. Because when it's not, there's talk about people doing passionate things, and this is a conversation about money, by the way. We're going to have a conversation that's going to transition money into tangible things, and we're going to start to talk about projects and when to say yes and how to say yes, things like that. That's where we're going. But I'm just in reflection here realizing that a lot of times there's this emphasis on do what you're passionate about and you'll never work a day in your life. And there's merit to that, but that's not reality for most of us. That wasn't reality for me. A lot of the time, even in my own company, I'm not passionate about some of the administrative paperwork or even some of the constructing work that we need to do out in the field. But when you're working in a context that respects and values and honors people in the context that they're in, people leave recharged and revitalized because people want to belong. That was one of the core themes that came through years back when I used my position as an entrepreneur to hire people with barriers to employment, and if they're coming off the street having an active addictions history, they've often been kicked to the side, kicked to the curb, quite literally, and coming into a work context. The work was hard because we're doing construction. Some of these folks hadn't worked in a long time, men and women, but they belonged here. We ensured that they belonged as part of this organization, and that dignity and respect piece is just so valuable. And as we talk about, when to say yes and how to say yes, because to projects, what I want you to do is have a profitable, prosperous company so that you can share that and we can grow together. That's the point of this. I want you to do really well wherever you are. Continue to evolve, but it's not just scale to grow to be better. It's like grow in substance and capacity, build deeper roots. I'm thinking about the tallest trees in this world have the deepest root systems to support that. Be that, so that there's some endurance. And if you ever read, I think it's Simon Sinek, it's The Infinite Game is what I'm referring to the book. It's the earn the right to keep going. And part of how you and I get to do that is honoring the people and the voices in our business, in the sphere that we have influence. We get to honor their insights and their collaboration. So one of the topics we've been going over in our finances, and the topic about money and finances, is the difference between hourly and contract work. And I've been pretty clear that contract work is by far more profitable, like exponentially more profitable for us, because we're rewarded for innovation. And in that space, the harder I work, the faster we work, the more money there is. Because if it's $10,000 and is the size of your project, and you get it done in 10 days, you made $1,000 a day. If you get it done in 2 days, you make $5,000 a day. So, or you could go to work hourly for $85 an hour and work a week and make $4,000. Or no, that wouldn't work. 500, yeah, something like that. Anyways, I'll leave you to do the math with a calculator. I'm standing here in front of a camera, so just if you get creative, not if you get creative, you get disciplined in the best way. Like if you develop an intelligent process that's inclusive of the complex world that we live in, you can start to move more of your hourly work into contract work. And I want to help you do that because that's where the money is, quite literally. It's also where this trust exchange is built in the marketplace, because really what you're doing when you say, I can do this work for you for this much money, you're saying, you can trust me to understand the problem, quantify the issue, and then deliver. And that's a trustworthy thing. You go to a restaurant and order the steak and it says it'll be $37.50. They deliver on the commitment. You get your steak, hopefully how you ordered it, and that's the bill. There's no surprise at the end of it. You're trusting them to deliver the product for the price. That's how this works. And I think sometimes trades folks and contractors in the digital space too can get lazy and just default to hourly billing, because it de-risks it for us. But if you're willing to embrace some of the risk, again, there's money to be had. How do you do that responsibly? And we've talked about understanding your business. You need to understand what you do. You need to understand like how to deliver the thing that you do. If you build websites, you need to be able to deliver the website before you can quote it reasonably, say responsibly. On your first day, never having done it before, you can throw a quote into the ether and hopefully it works. But that's guessing, and my hope is that we can move past guessing. My belief is that we can build strong businesses built on principles, so that as you get more complex problems and challenges brought your way, that you have a system to adapt to those. Sometimes quoting, people use it as like they want to like minimize and shrink their world and put everything in a linear package and compartmentalize it so that it's sterilized and organized. And I've discovered that so much of the beauty of this world is the diversity in it. And I just want to have space so that as an organization, as a group of people, as a leader, we can flex and adapt to meet the challenges of our customers. Because I said I'm a customer service company. I'm going to make a little point here. I think I'm a customer service company, or a level of strategies. I'm like contracting. These are like, this is the company that I founded 15 years ago. Okay. Built on the premise that I'm a customer service company. So the question is, what do you need help with? And then I take an honest evaluation. Can I help you with that? And then we go do it. Okay. In the realm of construction. That adapted into business consulting. Some of the topics that we're discussing today. It's like, hey, I was invited to help people in their business. Okay. Took an honest appraisal. Can I understand? Do I understand what you need? Do I understand how to deliver that? And can I commit? Yes, I can. So we move there. So you need to understand what you do. And sometimes it is easier, honestly, if you're a plumber who plumbs, or you're an electrician who does electrician, or you're a carpenter who carps, or you're a web designer who web designs, and you have a smaller domain. I will admit that one of the challenges we've faced as an organization is what do you do? Answering the question, what do you do? Because we fix things, and that means, yes, sometimes we paint, sometimes we do siding, sometimes we do structural repair, sometimes there's concrete, sometimes there's coatings, sometimes there's roof repair, and sometimes we're in attics, and in the attic space of a building, just to clarify. And that lends some complexity to our business model, because it's I might fix the concrete on a structural component of a building twice a year, whereas if you're concrete forming and framing, that's what you do all year. It's easier to quantify and streamline your quoting process and your pricing model if you do the one thing all year. Okay. But the model I'm showing you was born in the complexity of we didn't have a defined set of criteria where we could use industry rates, and we had to figure out how to quantify things that produced value for the customer in a competitive bid situation, regardless of the context we were asked to bid in, and whether it was for a private client, somebody who owns their home, whether it was for a professional client like a property manager, or whether it was for a strata, or whether we were working for municipal governments. It's like we had to deliver price regardless. So with that in mind, our pricing model, contracting is the way to go, and I'm gonna invite you into a way to look at projects. And I guess the start is when to say yes is going to depend on whether or not you understand the measure of confidence you have to deliver on the promises they're asking you to make. When to say yes for me is an inclusive exercise. Do I understand the issue? Can my team deliver the issue, or deliver the solution to the problem, or bring the imagined thing into reality? But then a really important piece is my client. We talked about client profiles and people's relationship with their money, and why I go through a process of vetting my clients, because sometimes we're more than capable and the team's ready, but I don't trust the client, so we say no. Getting our paperwork in order in a way, like our quoting process, and clarifying expectations. If there's unclear expectations, that's a yellow flag for me, so it's a don't say yes yet. I've learned the hard way, because it's cost me lots of money and lots of time, that going in and believing the expectations and the assumptions will get sorted out at the end of the project is the expensive way to do it. So don't do that. Clarify the assumptions and the gray areas or the unknowns up front. That'll help you a lot. And then how to say yes to your project is yes, I can do the work, but yes, am I going to do it hourly, or yes, am I going to do it by contract? And I guess this is where perhaps our contracting service or approach differed a little bit from others, because I've seen others. I've worked with general contractors, big guys, people like building hospitals, like in remote contexts. Like we're talking big general contractors, and I was on team for a period of time and decided that wasn't for me. It's lots of paperwork and lots of bureaucracy that didn't work for the agile, flexible, adaptable organization that I was used to running. So, all right. I don't have an estimating department as distinct from a project management department as distinct from my project team. And oftentimes people aim to segment these things. Well, this goes against all kinds of fundamental principles in our just living world. But the best teams are cross-functional. And one of the things I would say to you, if the person estimating is looking at pricing and just kind of trying to drive to the lowest price, I think you're setting yourself up for challenges when that gets handed off to a project manager who then has to meet a timeline that somebody else has assigned, or they might have loosely sorted out on their own terms. But then there's the team, like the project team, that actually has to go to work and deliver on the project, who likely the estimator didn't touch base with, and likely the project manager is just trying to manage and administrate, and so there's no sense of ownership or inclusivity in their voice, but also their experience. And we're gonna touch on actually in detail some of the questions I ask in the project planning phase with this inclusive voices. So I tend to think of it circles. A lot of people organize their businesses like triangles, and the CEO sits at the top, and there's kind of the command and control model throughout, and there's business systems and processes to ensure that hierarchies are reinforced and that money is controlled and expending expenses aren't overshot. I've chosen to depart from that because I didn't think it was, first of all, respectful to people. When you got people are like under me, just never made sense. I work with people. They work with me. I have the privilege of their company. I have the privilege of their companionship, their work colleagueship, and I want to honor that space. So I'll let you navigate the different business models. I'm exploring holacracy at the moment as another iteration. We're definitely heavy on the agile disposition, which again has ties to lean, which is where this is derived. But cross-functional teams is a great way to start. So the people doing the work are involved in the estimating, because I can say, hey, John, how long do you think it'll take to frame this section of the wall? Well, he might as well tell me he can do that in 4 days, because he's the guy that's going to have to do it in 4 days, rather than assume that I can do it in 3 days because I'm feeling optimistic, and then pressure him when he's in the field with his crew. It just makes no sense. And then allowing your team to craft the concept of the project, at least in some part. It can be a team representative. It doesn't have to be everybody from the team, but somebody that's responsible for performing the work and then also managing the work should be included in the creating the estimating plan for the work. And I think a lot of tradesmen, particularly I'm not picking on anybody because of their age. I've just seen a lot of baby boomers. It's like they work their butts off to earn their seal, and then they sit in the office and they kind of manage everything. So they got the experience and the know-how, and they're the guys pouring over the blueprints, and they got it all and the plans in their head. And then their team's in the field, and to the degree that you can't translate, there's a breakdown in communication, the passing the baton of the project off to the people who do the work. That if there's any breakdown, that's profitability. And why? Because that's time. The translating the concept into reality, the more smooth that is, the more money you're going to make. And if I can't have a smooth baton pass, that there's risk associated to my business and project there. So it's like, but if you're getting paid hourly, then you can just ride the time clock and go back and forth and all the phone calls and emails. And if everybody's getting paid to just do that, fine, but no work's getting done, so the customer's not receiving value for that. I've never met a tradesman that's really excited about having to go back to the plan or debate why things were scheduled this way or why the materials were ordered in this sequence. They're never happy to have to debate that. It's like a lot of competent, brilliant, talented professionals show up at work in the morning to get stuff done. And I just want to pave the way for them, and that starts way back when. In fact, I'm going to write it on the board because we're gonna eventually do a quote process here. But number one on my spelling and talking, I might not have got that right, but number one on my estimate or my quoting contract sheet is always mobilization. And that's because at the very beginning of a project, there's the planning, the coordinating, the permitting, the equipment, the preparation, the ordering, the administrating, subtrade, scheduling. All that has to go here before any work ever gets done. Like item 2.0, whatever's in here, and we'll do an estimate to sort that out. Item 2.0 and onward is where the actual material work gets done. And the reason I go out of my way to put number mobilization on my quotes is because I talked about earlier, and the tension that sometimes clients feel in an hourly billing process is if you spend 2 hours at the hardware store picking up the materials for the project and you show up to their job at 10 a.m. and work till 4, they saw you for 6 hours, so they're expecting 6 hours worth of billing, but you've been at the hardware store between 8 and 10 or driving around, so it's like you're billing between 8 and 4 and they're expecting 10 to 4, and there's a tension. But all the mobilization, the stuff to get ready for the project is really what I'm trying to address. I mark it because it's necessary and important, and you want to streamline this process because that's money in your pocket. So say yes, respecting the team. How are we doing for time? So we're approaching our 20-minute line, and I know what I'm about to dive into with the story arc is going to take a little bit more time. So I'm actually going to pause this one. I'm going to respect your time, say it's short. We'll get there. I'm excited for this next one because we're going to get into the mechanics of how to do this. So stay tuned, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.